Hello there. We're here to tell you that we have so much more to offer you now at our Mixed Tees store. Not just t-shirts and hoodies, but we do have plenty of those, and new designs for that matter. You can also get mugs, and of course our brand new limited Amber Turds stained blanket. That's right, just for your bed or wherever you need it. So head on over to Mixed Tees now and get all your apparel and goodies from Midnight's Edge.
Entertainment news today. You're such a dragon gay. Everything sucks and it's no good. That comes out of Hollywood. But there's one place you can go to get all your news and info, and maybe even have a laugh or two. You know it's true. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark. But MEAD never stops. We will keep going through the night as we keep up the culture fight. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark.
It is Thursday evening. Welcome to your favorite show on YouTube, whether you like it or not. I am Tom Connors. Do not adjust your screens. We have Six here with us. How you doing, Six?
I'm doing well. This is my favorite show on YouTube, streaming live right now.
Whether you like it or not?
Whether I like it or not, yeah.
That's right. And the reason is because we have not one, not two, not three, but all 32 flavors of Nick Weiser. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Happy to be here. And it has not been a slow week whatsoever. We have some shite to talk about, and it's good to have Script Doctor here with us, and hello to our chat.
Yes, burying the lead there on the next intro, we have the Script Doctor himself making a rare appearance. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a while, so long of a time that Nick seems to be trapped in a black void right now. So we gotta rescue him from that.
It's my BLM drift. It's not working.
He's blackface. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. And we also have the Price of Reason. How you doing, Price?
Good. How's it going?
I'm not sure you're coming through the right mic, but yes, we're glad to have you here.
No, this is my mic today, unfortunately.
Oh, that's your mic for tonight? Okay.
Is it really on, like, can you at least hear me, or is it just...
Oh, yeah, we can hear you. It just sounds like you're coming through a telephone or something like that. Yeah.
Well, what are we going to do?
Your actual mic can't get it up?
I had to step out, and I had some technical issues, so I'm making the best with my makeshift setup here.
Oh, it's fine.
I know how that works. But good afternoon, good evening, and good night to everybody out there in the YouTube lands. I see we got Willie here, we got Sander, we got Tornadoes, we got D-Bud, we got RJ Godzilla. We got so many regulars already climbing in here. Share out that link. Let everybody know that we are live. And we got some stuff to talk about today. We got a first look at Jason. The new Jason looks a lot like the old Jason. In fact, it was more reminiscent of the remake Jason, if you ask me. But
yeah, I don't. What are the differences?
This is the new. Okay, so I believe this would be for the show. It's for the Jason universe now, because remember they call it just the Jason universe.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, because Friday the 13th itself is actually owned still by Sean Cunningham, who is going to do his own Friday the 13th thing that has nothing related to Jason or the Voorhees or anything like that. Because all those characters are owned by Victor Miller, who started up his own Jason universe, as they're calling it. So there's our first look at Jason. I just thought it looked an awful lot like the remake Jason, like very much so.
I think they modified the mask a little bit to distinguish itself.
There's a
Do we have
few little differences.
side-by-side
but
comparison.
I don't have a side-by-side, but let me see if I can bring up another image of the remake Jason, just so people can see what I'm talking about here.
So this is for a new movie or show, or
This is for the new, I believe it'd be for everything, but I'm thinking the first place we'll see him will be in the new TV show.
Oh, so he lost some weight.
Yeah. Well, there's one picture of him from the remake anyway.
It's also for video games, I saw too.
Yeah, it'll be
This is
everything across the board Jason related, basically.
So
Anything
wait,
has
so
Jason
one
in it.
guy can make movies about Jason's mother, and the other one can make it about
Nope.
Jason?
nope.
Nope. Jason's mother is part of the Victor Miller. He owns that. So anything that had to do with the story in Friday the 13th, the camp, all that business is all owned by Victor Miller. But the name Friday the 13th, since that's the only thing that basically Sean Cunningham came up with, that's the only thing he has the rights to. So he's going to do his own Friday the 13th thing, where it's unrelated to Jason and all that kind of stuff.
It's going to be like
no.
Halloween 2, not Halloween 3.
Season of the Witch.
Possibly. I think it'll have more to do probably with the whole idea of bad luck on Friday the 13th. They'll probably have to play into that, but
Well, that'll be
whatever
cool.
they do.
That sounds so stupid. Why couldn't they just sell them the rights to it and that's it?
Price
Oh,
wasn't-
because-
It's so expensive.
Because they went through like a very, very long
court case.
court case that we were kind of surprised in some of the outcome, but some of it wasn't so surprising. Because there was a point where we weren't sure if they were going to see the young Jason and the old Jason as two separate characters, but no, they decided they were redundant characters. And since Victor Miller came up with that, it doesn't matter what they did with the character afterwards. So he owns all that, basically. So yeah.
This was really a situation that I think somebody should have opened up a checkbook and worked this out. This is really dumb in my opinion, but whatever.
I think that was an option at one point, but I think people got too greedy.
I love it.
And-
I'm all for more horror movies.
Yeah. And I mean, we already know who we just got recently the cast as far as the person who's going to be playing Mrs. Voorhees. Now, Brian Fuller's no longer part of the series, and they revamped it from what he was doing, I guess. But I have no idea what it's going to be now. But
Not as good.
I would imagine so, because what Brian wanted to do was set the series in a way that it does not, even though it was going to be in the vein of Bates Motel, it wasn't going to redo the Friday the 13th franchise. All the stories were going to take place around the films.
Yeah.
So, like, I would imagine the first season probably was all the events leading up to the first film. And then the second season would probably be a few events that happen around the other films in between. Because they did say we'd see Jason and other characters in various forms. So, I'd imagine them releasing this picture of Jason now is probably because he's going to be in the series. I don't see why they wouldn't. But we'll see how far they get as far as the story in the first season anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because they cast a pretty young Mrs. Voorhees, so that makes sense. So my guess is the first season will be a lot about how she gets pregnant with Jason, depending on how they go with that. And then she'll probably meet Elias, and then it'll probably lead all up to her having Jason and realizing he's not normal and all that kind of business.
Well, hopefully it's not similar to the Nightmare on Elm Street conception.
As far as, like, you mean the remake, or?
Well, how Freddy was conceived.
Oh, no. Well, depending on which version you go with, either Jason's father is his own grandfather, or...
What?
Yeah.
That's,
Or they
It's a
don't know who the
Chinatown
father
syndrome.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Chinatown thing, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, or they don't know, and Elias is the father. There's like 2 or 3 different versions, depending on which one you want to go with. But yeah, so they kind of play off like, yeah, the reason he's kind of off is because his grandpa's his own father, basically. Yeah. If you get my drift, some Game of Thrones shit. So yeah, I don't know if there's any more reactions to Jason, but I don't think it looks bad, but it doesn't really look that much different than anything we've seen before, I don't think.
A little bit more filthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm more Jason all the time.
Yeah, it's about time to get something going with him. But speaking of seeing new things, we did get to see also our first look at Nicolas Cage is John Madden.
Yes! Let's go!
Boom, baby. And also Christian Bale as well as what's his face? I forgot the name now.
We'll just call him Christian Bale.
Oh, I know. I'm trying to think of it. Michaels? Is it Al Michaels?
I don't know. I wasn't knowledgeable on the announcers back in the day, even though I did watch more football. But I saw a photo of the guy Christian Bale's trying to play, and Christian Bale did a good job transforming him into the character. So pretty awesome.
Davis.
Yeah, he's playing Al Davis.
Al
yeah.
Davis. Al Davis.
Oh,
I knew it was one of the Als.
people.
I knew it was one of the Als. Anyway, so there's our first look at Nicolas Cage. There's a side-by-side with the old Madden. Actually, pretty good spitting image of him almost.
Good enough. It works. You don't lose the actor, but you also get, a sense of the man.
Nicolas Cage just seems so inspired. It's like, who else you gonna get to play him since Brian Dennehy's no longer with us?
Yeah, true. Brian Dennehy would have been a good fit. I could definitely see that with Dennehy. But yeah, no, I'm actually now that we have Cage looking like John Madden, it's really cool to see the transformation. And it's nice to see that, once again, there are guys like this out there. Him and Bale, we gotta give credit to Bale too, or they really did their absolute damnedest to transform into these characters. And that's awesome to see. Absolutely awesome to see. And I was already going to see this movie, but this really solidifies the deal.
So script, you actually read the script, or at least an earlier version of the script for your scripts on Saturdays. So what years does this take place in? I'm imagining it's got to be, because they did the first Madden game in what, 92, 93?
No, they did the first Madden game in the 80s.
Was it in the 80s?
Yeah.
Was it in the late 80s? Okay.
That's right.
So this actually, the screenplay for Madden that we read on my show was about the video game.
Right.
And Madden's
yeah, so people are
involvement.
clear with that. Yeah.
So that it was about John Madden, and it was about how he teamed up with EA to make this video game, all while he's kind of transitioning out from being a coach to basically a person on television, commentating on football. And it's also dealing with a subplot of him trying to connect with his kid, because there's some distance there, and rebalancing. And of course, it plays around with all the Maddenisms, like the fact that he's afraid of flying, so he always travels by bus. We did the live show coverage, and then we did a couple of second thoughts with a bunch of the other co-hosts. So go to my channel, give those videos a watch. You will not be disappointed. You'll find out a lot of great tidbits of it. Now, the director of Madden, whose name's escaped me at the moment, but I think it's David O. Russell.
David O. Russell, yeah.
Yeah. David O. Russell has actually come in. He's done a revamp of the screenplay, so we don't know how much it's going to change from its original, from what originally got it purchased.
No, that's the guy who did American Hustle, right?
Yeah, he did American Hustles. Yeah.
Yeah, so he worked with Bale before, and what did he do more recently? He did another one more recently too.
Oh gosh. I think he did.
Let me
Amsterdam.
look while you're talking.
Was it Amsterdam? Yeah. I think it was.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Like nobody saw it. I think, but it's good.
No. Well, he did have something. Yeah, Amsterdam was his more newer one, but okay. So I thought he had something more newer that actually got some notice, but maybe that's what I was thinking of.
I think it was Amsterdam, because that was Christian Bale again, and
same thing. And then he did Silver Linings years ago.
Silver Linings and The Fighter.
And Three Kings was his first big one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Joy was the one I think I was thinking of from a few years back.
Oh, I don't even remember that one. But did that have Jennifer Lawrence in it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Where she is It's about a family across 4 generations or whatever. De Niro's in it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah. Anyhow, yeah. No, has he calmed down at all? Is he still the same asshole, or do you know anything?
He's got his ticks to it. I mean, the only people that work with him are Christian Bale and his crew. he's hard getting new talent. After.
Yeah, as Shanatsky pointed out, he's not the easiest director to get along with.
You know what? People that work with him get awards. It has worked well for people that have worked with him. So,
but I've seen the things, and it's like he is the one that's really the problem. If you watch, especially like the I Heart Huckabees footage he got out there.
Yeah,
absolutely. He's
like Lily Tomlin should have just come up and kicked him in the nuts at some point. Swear to God, like he deserved it. It's like I was with her on that. I'm like, yeah, what the fuck is she supposed to do? Like you're not giving her any real direction here. Like,
he's super annoying, but his movies they
turn
well.
out good usually. Yeah, because I do like American Hustle. And this one I'm looking forward to.
The Fighter was good.
Fighter was pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how much he changes. I wonder if he gets rid of the entire video game aspect of it and just focuses on Madden's like the last few years as a coach.
I think they'll really amp up the video because that's kind of the new biopic, right? It's not so much the biopic anymore as it is the product pick or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I mean, because this one here has it's got some great comedy and jokes about how much Madden loves the game of football. And when you have the limitations of what computers could do at that time, like you couldn't get the full roster, you couldn't get the full amount of players on the field. Like there just wasn't enough data sets like at the time. So they had to come up with new coding in order to get, more than just 7 players on each team.
And I think that's what they'll key in on most of all, with the other story being a side story mainly. I could be wrong, but because I think that's the key is like because Tetris and some of the other films we've gotten all the way up through like the Michael Keaton one about McDonald's and stuff.
Oh yeah, the Founder was great. Yeah. Tetris was fantastic. I wish that got a big theatrical run.
And then we had the BlackBerry movie and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I did read that David O. Russell was rewriting the entire script that he received. So whatever it is that he initially got, it's not going to be what we see in the movie.
Yeah. So, and I think they will key in on that because that's where I think the fun of it is. And that, even the Pop-Tarts movie recently, even though some people didn't like it, I thought that was a lot of fun. I think that's kind of I think it's the next kind of thing where, like, yes, you have your biopics, but I think it's a lot more fun to go see one of these movies that's kind of revolved. Even Air was a great film, right? So probably one of the best films of that year too, 2022 or whatever came out. When was it? 23? But just didn't get any notice because it was an Amazon movie. But yeah, looking forward to this, and it sounds like it should be good from what you were saying with the script. Hopefully, David O. Russell can work something out with it.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Whatever changes he makes, I hope it's for the better. But if not, well, we'll probably see something interesting out of Nick Cage for sure.
Oh, good for you. And how was it?
It was on fire. Boom, baby. It's like mustard. Are we going to hear all the Maddenisms?
Dude, I hope we do. I hope we get, like, Maddenisms.
Did they have a scene where he's recording all his sayings and shit in the movie? Script?
I'm sorry?
Did they have a scene where he's, like, recording all his Maddenisms for the game?
Yeah. Yeah, they have a scene of that.
Because his was, I think, one of the first games where you actually had the voice of the person in the game.
Yes,
I mean, they had voices before, but they're always really kind of nappy.
Yeah, this one was a bit more clear. It also had a scene where he introduces the legendary turducken.
Oh God, yes, yeah, he's famous for that.
So, yeah, but it also has again, think of it this way: you've got a football coach who has to deal with a bunch of programmers who've never played football before.
Right.
That was the gimmick that kind of got people interested in the script, and the way he's able to bring them together as a team, the way he's able to understand what they do and back and forth and connect with his kid, who's of that generation at that time, or at least that's the liberty that the script took. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they pull it all together.
Yeah. I don't know if they'd ever do a Leisure Suit Larry movie, I Cthulhu, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we don't get a movie about what was it, Night Stalker and some of the other games that, along with Mortal Kombat, that brought on the ratings board. when the parents freaked out and they had all the hearings and shit. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't work something out with that at some point, because there's been more than enough documentaries about it that it's almost a given at some point. But let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat here. We got FKHC 2005 sending in $2 to send some love for Klobby. Thank you for that, FKHC 2005. Soul Nightmare says, Gunn says, more Wonder Woman project and updates have happened for Batman Part 2. Plus, Lionsgate dumped Highlander because of big budget, lack of brand appeal, and Cavill's constant bombs outside of DC and Mission Impossible 6. Yeah, I saw a little bit of something about that. I figured we'd talk more about that probably on the morning show, but yeah, that's supposedly their reasoning for putting Highlander to turn around was the budget and Cavill's bombs. But that for Lionsgate, that just doesn't compute for me. I don't know.
That is kind of odd, yeah.
And as far as the update for Batman Part 2, we know that they did, I don't know if they rented them out completely or just put some down payment on some facilities next year for the UK, but I have not heard, unless he said that the script has come in. All he did say was when somebody asked if Matt Reeves was still directing the Batman Part 2, he said yes. And that was it.
Normally, when I would hear something like a down payment, that would kind of give me assurance. Oh, okay, this is happening. But considering how we've seen the spending and the ignorant amount of spending that we've seen in the last several years, I can't put it past them to spend on this type of thing and still not do anything with it. So I'm still not convinced until there's a full cast with a release date and they are actually filming the movie.
Well, that's kind of where this all stems from, is there was a Production Weekly post that had the thing for one of the UK studios that was being rented out for the Batman 2, but it did not have a director listed. So everybody was thinking, oh, well, maybe Matt Reeves dropped out, which honestly, that was what I was thinking, is the only thing that's going to keep this thing alive is if Matt probably does step aside and let somebody else take it on. At which point, is it still really Matt Reeves, the Batman Part 2 anymore? Or is it just another Batman movie, kind of like Batman Forever was after Tim Burton left and Schumacher came in, right?
You mean like it has a producerial role?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I mean, the last I heard is that Matt Reeves is not off the project, but a script has not yet been turned in.
Yeah, and I was told that the project is dead, but that was 2 weeks before this thing come out.
Yeah,
so.
The title for any type of booking is always subject to change, because when Warner Brothers books Pinewood or whatever out in the UK, they can put whatever they want in there. They can just, I mean, sometimes they don't even use the actual names of the productions; they just use a code name. And I would say it's maybe like 60% chance likelihood that the booking they did is more for the Clayface movie than it is for the Batman 2.
See, I could see that, because I think that's ready to go already.
Yeah.
And as Neil points out here, and Andre pointed out in a recent video, Warner Brothers has a grand history of delaying until all of a sudden it's just not happening anymore.
Well, they only delay something they don't believe in. That's the thing. Yeah. I mean, that's Studio 101. If there's something that's on the docket that nobody has confidence in, just keep delaying it until people forget about it and they can quietly cancel it or shift gears.
Well, we got Kitty Bear sending us a pooper sticker, I believe. Thank you for that, Kitty Bear. We appreciate that here. Beep Bop Boop. Haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? Sends in $4.99 and says, I'm confused. Wouldn't each creator want to make their own Jason design? Is this the only version that is copyright proof? I think the reason for this is, in the past they wouldn't have cared. They just let each creative on each film kind of take their own, and it usually came down to the special effects house. Like, it's usually to get certain special effects people to get involved, and for them to do it cheap, they'd be like, all right, I'll do it, but let me redesign Jason, right? And like, two of the most famous redesigns would have been Friday the 13th Part 7 and Jason Goes to Hell. And otherwise, I mean, he's pretty standard, looks like this. So I think what they're trying to do, though, is come up with a uniformed thing. Because if you haven't noticed, the new thing in Hollywood is to come up, and it's not a bad thing, because Andre and I think Script has got on this bandwagon too, where it kind of helps to have like a brand manager, somebody to kind of oversee everything, to kind of make sure that everything has kind of a QC, has quality control, and there is a uniformity. Conan's doing it. Mm-hmm. There's other properties I think that are going to start doing it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing this more and more. And it's almost basically just like a Bible, but for a whole franchise instead of just a show, if that makes sense. So Yeah, I think I'm sure there'll be some deviations here and there, but this will be kind of the basic idea for the design, is my guess. Nobody has anything more to say about that, so all right.
Yeah, I'm a little mixed on the Camp Crystal Lake series because I really want to see Brian Fuller's version, and I don't know what this new one's going to entail, so we'll have to wait and see.
Well, let's just say I may be able to compare. I don't know if you have that ability to. What we may have gotten, even a little bit more so than what we did with Discovery, the differences. So yeah, I may or may not have a way of knowing what the first couple episodes would have been had Brian done the show. But that was my understanding too. Was the biggest problem is Brian didn't. He was told one thing, and then they're like, "Well, yeah, you weren't meant to spend this much money on the show." And it's like, "Well, that's my budget." Like, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, "Well, we meant to have this, and it's supposed to be cheaper, and all this kind of shit." So they already went and spent a bunch of money, and then they spent more bringing this new crew in to do what is ostensibly, I guess, a hack job of what Brian was doing, is my understanding, so they could do it for cheaper. So in the end, I don't know why they just didn't stick with Brian. It probably would have cost the same. Which is kind of the same thing with Discovery that makes absolutely... What is this? This has got to be like the dumbest shit in the world. I've never heard of this. This is twice this has happened to this guy. And I've never heard this anywhere else in the history of ever.
Of a guy losing a show, yeah.
Because not just that, but because they tell him your version is too expensive, and then they turn around and spend 10 times as much as they would have in the first place had they just kept him. Discovery's a grand example of that. Because that was the whole thing, and we found out straight from Brian himself and Robert, because I asked that day that Brian was on his show, and he said, as far as I know, it came down to Moonves he couldn't understand why we couldn't do this shit for cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian said I had to explain to him, like, you used to amortize these things over seasons, and the stuff that we know, you build the sets, you build the costumes and all that kind of business, and then it gets use out of it. Right.
Yeah.
And Moonves just couldn't get his head around that for some reason, because as far as he knew, that Star Trek was always this cheap shit show that looked like it was shot on cardboard sets.
Well, yeah, he was an idiot.
But then when he turned around and then fucking Netflix and everybody gets involved, the next thing you know, it's the most expensive fucking TV show at the time. So go figure. That's what I don't understand.
Well, what's funny is that even with Merle D. Moore and Brandon Braga, when they were helping out with the Orville, they managed to keep costs pretty low by comparison to Discovery, but it was still expensive. Like the fact that Moonves, even I, in 2006, when I was like at Paramount during the split, we would hear tons of stuff about some executives just don't understand the concept of like you can spend a ton of money within your first quarter and then you end up saving 3 times that over the course of the year, right? Because you're still using those facilities. Once it's
all
spent,
upfront
it's not
costs, right?
It's done. Yeah, it's front loaded.
So then that's what happened there. And then the same fucking thing happened, I guess, with the whole Crystal Lake situation, is that the company behind it, I forget who was, A24.
A24 with Universal, right? Yeah.
A Peacock, I think, is the one who licensed it. Because, they told you had this much budget, and then he budgeted out the show, and he built an entire fucking camp, as far as I know. So they have Camp Crystal Lake already built.
Yeah. I don't know where it is, but somewhere in Canada.
Yeah, somewhere in Canada. They spent the money already, and then after all this shit, they're like, well, why is this so expensive? It's like, well, first of all, you're doing a period piece show, probably.
Yes.
I would imagine. That's going to cost you. So you're looking at Stranger Things kind of prices, but yeah.
Second of all, this set's going to last you at least 4 or 5 seasons.
Bingo. If not more, you can use it in movies after this too, just like Star Trek did.
Yep.
And I compared that the same thing with Police Academy. It was the same thing because they shot it at the same. All of those movies, except for the Miami Beach and other ones, were shot all up at Canada. Where was it at? That one facility up there.
It was at what is now known as Humber College. It used to be a formal mental institution, and even some of the beach stuff was shot in Toronto because Toronto does have beaches.
Wouldn't be surprised, but I do know they did go to Miami for Miami Beach, and they did go to Russia for the Russia one. That's the only thing.
Yeah,
and I think 6 was shot mostly on sets, but still in Canada, if I remember right. But yeah.
Pretty much,
even though they're never at the Academy in Part 6, so that's the only reason I bring it up.
No, there's just again, like when it was shot at the time. So like during the 1980s, Toronto was a mix of like a really nice city and a really grungy city. So Police Academy was able to take advantage of the grungy parts
Yeah.
a lot.
Well, a lot of those shows were 21 Jump Street, and
Mhm.
a lot of that stuff was able to.
Kung
Yeah.
Fu: The Legend Continues.
Yep. Anyhow, Jeremiah has and this kind of goes off of what we were just talking about, and it'll probably get us into a little bit of Superman talk anyway, since script is here.
Cool.
Jeremiah Hembry says, Tom, I sent you 2 stories about Warner Brothers that I heard on John Campea. Well, I just see the one that you sent me here mainly, other than the Superman trailer release, various time zone thing. But you sent me this thing about Warner Brothers CEO revealing DCU's cornerstone characters. I did see that elsewhere, so I think that's what you're referring to. And I guess I have no problem with the cornerstone characters outside of Supergirl. Okay, so they're obviously saying that Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Supergirl are the DC cornerstone characters.
I mean, 3 of those are definitely cornerstone characters.
Yeah, I don't know about Supergirl.
Unless he's found a way to do for Supergirl what Marvel did for Iron Man, which is take someone who's out down the line of the A list and try and bringing them up to the center stage. It could happen.
I don't know. What do you guys say to that? Because I know they're also putting them out for licensing for like products and stuff like that too. I heard recently.
Oh, merchandising deals have been solidified since late last year, and there's a whole bunch of new stuff coming out this year, next year, and the year after. That they're hoping.
Well, we already saw that one ad with the Batman thing, and that was pretty good. So.
Wow.
I don't think anybody's really surprised on that outside of Supergirl. I guess I guess I don't see why you'd put her on such a pedestal other than.
Well, I'm not surprised. It's the equity thing. Since there's 2 men, you gotta have 2 women.
Why isn't it Green Lantern?
Lanterns are starting off small right now because they're a higher risk
or Flash or
set of characters.
Flash,
like people are trying to make forget for the next 2 years.
Martian Manhunter, even.
Nobody should bring back Ezra Miller.
Have you seen some of the shit? Oh man, he has gone completely off the fuck, like even worse than he had before.
Not surprised.
Remember how they tried to restore his credibility before that movie?
Yeah.
Oh,
what?
yeah.
I said they were going to try to do that because they had a choice. They were either going to reshoot everything or they were just going to try and keep their heads down and get through this. And when James Gunn took over, that kind of made everybody's choice real simple. It's like, just keep your head down and move forward.
I like Supergirl. I really do. I actually think she's a fascinating character. Yes, she's ultimately a derivative.
I would almost say
Superman,
Catwoman's more iconic than her.
but oh god, it's not even close. And Nightwing is more popular than her, and it's not even close. And as someone who's a fan, I own Supergirl comics. She actually remembers her time on Krypton. She has a likable personality, iconic suit, even though once again she's ultimately a female version of the pre-existing traditional male character. But the facts are the facts. She has never really resonated anywhere near a lot of the B-list characters in DC. And that's unfortunate because, once again, I hold high regard to her. But, however, if I had to bring in the female character in the conversation, I'd hold Zatanna in even a higher regard because Zatanna is awesome. And that's a great original female character that doesn't have to survive off being a derivative of a male-based character.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say this, right? The one thing that makes Supergirl a little bit different from other derivations is the fact that she's now officially a fish out of water, right? She's a Kryptonian who's grown up in Kryptonian society, and she's now got to figure out Earth. And that's kind of what makes her, that's the selling point, right? It's
a great one,
we would
too.
call it like the Austin Powers syndrome, right? Man out of time. So now we have a girl out of, girl off planet, off world, or what have you. The other part too is that they got Millie Alcock, who really blew up the scene with her Game of Thrones experience, presence, or on with House of the Dragon. So they're banking on that popularity to come out. And I'm really excited to see if they end up going to Zatanna. I think they would because the magic in the DCU is actually pretty cool and twisted and dark, especially with like Arian the Witch Boy and all those other characters there. And like, yeah, there's a lot of potential.
I mean, even if you're not going to do, so like more iconic than Supergirl, and even now more iconic than Catwoman, Harley Quinn. and all the shit she could sell.
Yeah,
really
Harley
did.
Quinn is far more popular. If you want to say here's a popular villain we could lean in on the
Well, she
market
does
on.
have kind of the
Yeah.
anti-villain thing going for her, especially the
Yeah,
last few
that's
years. They've
true.
kind of
The
put
last
her more
decade.
into this kind of like,
Quasi-hero phase. Yeah,
Yeah.
she is strayed so far from what her intention was
Oh,
that
God, yeah.
it's almost become to a point where the last 20 years of Harley
no,
Quinn
but if
is
I was a
considered wash.
licensor and I could, and I had like say a young, like a makeup line that I'm trying to gear towards tweens and young women, Harley Quinn, perfect.
I think
You know what I mean?
Helen
Like, there's a-
Slater was a better actress to play Supergirl than Millie Alcock.
Who?
She was
Well, I don't
fine
know
in
because
that
we haven't
first
seen
4
her yet,
episodes
but-
of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, but that show went off a cliff. And who even remembers her on the show? I feel like they waited way too long to make this movie.
Wait, who's the other actress you said? You cut out there on my end.
Helen Slater is the
Oh,
one.
Helen
that I think
Slater?
is
Well, you
better.
want Helen Slater back? She's like 60 years old.
No, I'm saying that I want a Helen Slater type.
Oh, okay.
Well, and we don't know what they're going to do with this character yet, so I'm not going to judge the acting until we even at least see a trailer or anything. But yeah, I see what you're saying though. But on that note, Hi Cthulhu says, Script and Tom, what's the entertainment industry talking news about regarding the tariffs? Also looking forward to the Superman trailer discussion. Well, Mikey and I were on with, I think, WD Pro and those guys the other day, and he brought up what I've been saying too, and that is the biggest thing is this. It's like, look, it's not so much to be worried about the tariffs and stuff as it is Trump's trying to get action. He's trying to get people to the table talking. He's trying to get, Newsom to get some incentives going for people to want to make movies in Hollywood now, because that's the bigger problem, right? The problem you have is any tax incentives you have there are beaten by anywhere else, even Georgia, Canada, elsewhere, right? And then you have a bunch of people trying to, school Trump on how Hollywood works. He knows how Hollywood works.
Yeah.
Motherfucker was on a goddamn reality show for 20 fucking years.
Well, the thing is, he said this as a way to make people who don't know how to make movies flinch. And anyone who makes movies, movies in Hollywood are all made in America. It doesn't matter where they're shot. Tariffs can't apply. It doesn't work. We ended up speaking with a tariff lawyer up here last week when it was announced. And a lot of us were laughing. And the people that weren't laughing, that took this as a serious thing, I had to fire because they basically lied to us about their credentials to an extent where we knew, oh, they're good at these things. But if they don't know how movies are made, if they don't understand the trade agreements and the fact that film is always an export and the only countries that would ever be quote unquote tariffed would be foreign films. And even then, how do you tariff a foreign film? Because it's not a physical resource.
Gee, I don't know. Maybe we should only let about 12 Chinese movies in a year.
We do.
Well, that's what they do to us. See?
Well, no, I mean, the thing is like, actually, when you take a look at the domestic stuff in the United States, foreign films are not even 1% of what you see.
No, I know. Unless
And
they win
so-
Oscars, and then they are.
Well, yeah, but even then, no, if they're winning Oscars, it's just still in that 1% because again,
I know. I'm just making a joke about fucking
yeah,
Parasite.
it was so hysterical. That I mean, I was laughing. I had to I was talking to some of my friends in LA and a couple in the UK, and they're all just like, yeah, like, what is he going to do? Charge us 100% tariff on the hard drive that we film our footage on because that hard drive is worth $120. So yeah, I'll pay another $120 to bring
Yeah.
it back into the United States if
No,
I purchased it in the UK. If not, I bought it from the US. It's not subject to a tariff because I can take it anywhere in the world and bring it back. I'm not importing anything.
No, and that's where Mikey and I were coming from. The point was to get people to the table, to get Newsom to start acting and get some actual incentives going that don't revolve around DEI bullshit, because that's the problem.
No,
Right.
the problem is that everybody in California wants a cut with regards to every production. So even if you had a massive tax incentive, like say 60% on production, 60% on editing, well, everybody in that state is going to want a piece of that 60%. That's the problem. Doesn't matter about DEI, doesn't matter about anything else. It's all about how there's too many people, too many parties outside of just the principal unions that want a cut. And that's what makes it so difficult to shoot in LA. Like if I wanted to go, if I want to do a production in there in LA and I wanted to use a particular car service to get my talent from hotel to location, I can't just use any specific car service. I have to hire a private security to escort the car service as well And I can't provide my own. I have to hire a specific third party of a list of 5 that are probably outrageously priced, as opposed to me finding someone who would come to that state for a very modest rate and help me save money. I can't do that in LA. That's why I would go to someplace like New Mexico or Georgia or Florida or Chicago or anywhere in Canada, because they don't have those regulations or stipulations. Like California is the problem, the bureaucracy there. The DEI stuff is merely a symptom, and everything else about the other parts of the tastes, municipalities taking a cut. There's also like IATSE sometimes having regulations that actually hurt their own members, because I visit IATSE up here in Toronto like twice a week, every week, and they go through all the stuff where they're trying to streamline their things. It's all people kind of like acting like the mob, just trying to say, hey, you want to drive down this road? Okay, well, here's the surface rate, but I need also another 20% kickback, because otherwise you're not going to be able to access this road, or you're not going to be able to go into this neighborhood, or you're not going to be able to shoot on this location. Or if you want to drive out to the salt flats, you have to pay this toll. Like it's all ridiculous costs that should not even exist in a production, which is why you don't shoot in California anymore. So I hope that answers the question there, Cthulhu.
Yeah. And then we got Soul Nightmare says he said there'd been encouraging updates. If part 2 was canceled, then they'd say it or ignore it, right? But Gunn and DeLuca continue to say otherwise. You know what Gunn also said? That Flash was the greatest superhero movie he's ever seen.
Yeah, but he has to say that. He's the head of the studio.
There's rumor that Tom Cruise was so excited that he called Zaslav and said it was the best movie he'd ever seen too.
Yeah,
because that's how
that's
Tom Cruise got some IMAX
just like
screens.
You know what? Whenever you ask anybody about the Rian Johnson trilogy, guess what? It's still happening.
It's still happening.
I bet you the Patty Jenkins Star Wars is still happening too,
Yeah,
with the Lord and Chris Miller Star Wars.
No, and I'm not making fun of you or laughing at you, Soul Nightmare. My whole point is they will say this until it's just nobody talks about it anymore.
It's the talking point of the studio. You'll never hear Bob Iger go on a Disney call and say, Ahsoka is the biggest piece of crap we ever put money behind. They're not going to say that. I mean, the fact that anyone out there would ever expect it, I'm not saying anyone in the chat here.
Very rarely do they actually admit that when
it's absurd.
I would love that to happen, though.
What Iger does is he finds like a workaround excuse. It's like, we've been making too many movies. We were spreading ourselves thin. We're going to make less movies that'll be of higher quality. And that's usually the dumb crap that he has to say.
Yeah, it's just talking points. I mean, equate it to something like you're going to your grandmother's house who loves you to death, but she's a terrible cook, and you're told by your parents, don't say how bad of a cook she is. You're not going to say how bad your grandma cook is, because you're afraid she'll panic and die. Like that's the relationship we have.
It's that little white lie thing, that you learn as a young kid, that when your mom's pregnant or something like that, or you see somebody and he's like, you don't say they're fat. It's just like you just don't.
Pretty much. I mean, it's part of the deal when you work for a studio, is like, don't say anything that will be detrimental to the studio, because you're now a representative of that studio.
Yeah, and you may want to work with these people again too, and sometimes there's other factors. Again, the only thing that I see happening outside of maybe getting a new director is that the Brave and the Bold is that far off. That probably, Warner Brothers is insistent that they have something Batman related at some point here in the near future. Because, I mean, even now, though, that's the problem, is the way we're looking at it is the Batman Part 2 is not going to come out anytime sooner than 2027.
If we're lucky, yeah. And
you guys realize that 7 years since the first movie came out?
Well, yeah, because the original release date was supposed to be October of 2023. And you and I, when we heard that, I said, there's no way they're making that.
We've said that about 3 times now.
Yeah.
And
again, no studio, if they're excited about an IP, ever delays it. They're like, no, we're rushing it out now. Case in point, Spider-Man No Way Home.
And Joker 2 is another one,
Yeah.
And how badly that turned out. Because
Joker 2, one of the biggest problems with that is that it was literally the prime example of what you do is like, you got a hit movie that came out with a modest budget of $50 to $60 million and it made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Then you decide, I'm going to throw $200 million at it. No, never do that.
No, that's not a good idea.
And
Yeah, this meme is so real. I don't know if you even saw that one.
That's pretty good.
No, I'll believe it when I see it too, like Nick just said. Joe Pat says, any of you heard of supposedly Warner Brothers splitting apart? Maybe this is the other part you were talking about. I heard something about this. I don't know how accurate it is.
Splitting apart from what?
Yeah, what are they splitting off? That's what I would it be Discovery from Warner Brothers again, back to the way they were, or what's the deal? Like, that's
Was
I guess.
AT&T going to buy out the stuff that Discovery has been subsidizing for the last 4 years, 5 years?
Hello?
Yeah, no,
I was
I'm not
looking
sure.
for it here to try and I don't know. Everybody's quiet today.
Ooh.
I could get all these fucking ads off here.
Dude, the
That is a
damn
lot of
ads, man. I tell
Jesus
ya.
Christ. All right, and I went the wrong direction here.
I'm not surprised by
Okay,
this
so
rebrand,
Gunnar
and no one should be.
Winefields told investors that conference was a lot more openness to discuss the options ahead for additional industry consolidation in a disruptive streaming era. Okay.
Well, consolidation means that they're going to merge with something else, not split.
So it says here, what we really differentiates us, what really swings the needle when it comes to growth momentum is quality. It's quality and content that we can produce in the way that nobody else can. About HBO. Max.
Oh, this is about their rebranding. Their marketing campaign for their rebranding back has been brilliant.
We're going to talk about that in a minute, actually. That's why I was going to see here what this was all about. Major split of the company in the wake of disruptive streaming. There's a lot more openness to discuss the options, opportunities, and we're just going to make sure that we're in a positive position to take advantage of whatever opportunity arises. So that doesn't say that there's actually anything happening. It just says if they were.
So the only thing that they have entities of splitting from is AT&T and Discovery, because everything else is wholly owned by each individual company.
Unless they get together with something, which, I know some people seem to think that there's this possibility of them combining with
Universal.
Universal. That is never going to fucking happen.
Can't
the
happen.
two are so big that it would just not happen. Yeah.
Well, you got AT&T and Comcast as like essentially the principal owners of each respective studio. There's no way. It just won't happen.
Yeah. And then Soul Nightmare points out he meant when he was asked. Yeah, and of course he's going to do that when he's asked. Especially on like a red carpet, they have to give some sort of political answer.
Of course.
But yeah. So, and 6 here says, okay, so what this is about maybe then is, sounds like 6 sent me this, sounds like Warner Brothers Discovery will have its own spin co in the not so distant future. CNBC's David Faber reports that a spinoff of Warner Cable Channel is imminent.
They're going to try and basically replace their CW with another network?
Well, CW is already gone.
Yeah, because they sold their interest in CW, which was a merger with CBS's UPN and the WB, which the WB was launched in the 90s.
Says it sounds like Discovery Co. may be a reality. Oh, maybe it is with NBC Universal.
Can we just stick with HBO Max? It was a fine name as it was. Very recognizable. It says HBO. We don't need to go into other variations. It's fine as it was. And it's one of the few streaming services that I actually use quite a bit too. So
no, this sounds like it's Discovery Channel merging with the channel with NBC Universal, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, not only that, well, then there's another part here where he says almost definitely we'll see Warner Brothers Studio paired with Max, leaving Warner Brothers Discovery's cable network as the odd asset out. It's basically exactly what NBC Universal is currently doing to Faber.
Oh, okay.
So I guess they're going to be spinning off its cable assets minus Bravo and including CNBC into a new company now called Versant, aka Spinco, led by Mark Lazarus. Digital assets like the Golf Now app, Rotten Tomatoes, and Fandango will also be part of Versant. Almost immediately after the original announcement of Spinco, Media analyst reports began to ask when Warner Brothers will do the same. So they're not going to do it together, but they're looking at doing the same kind of thing. It looks like here.
Yeah, it looks like it's an offshoot, basically like a roll down of these elements that are probably going to be replaced by all the digital conveyance of media.
And I apologize. I haven't been around most today, so I haven't been able to keep up with hardly any news today. So yeah, but on that note, you're right. Script brought this up. This was genius yesterday, although it shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're going to rebrand yourself to de-rebrand yourself or re-debrand
it's a resurrection of sorts, really.
A resurrection of sorts, whatever you're going to do. This is the most brilliant way to get a buttload of free press. Because you had HBO, you had Max, and all their Spanish channels and other channels doing various memes all throughout the day and having all sorts of fun with this. This, of course, I think was the winner of all the memes here with the Supermen and little HBO Go in the background. That's the part I think that got me the best.
What's funny is that the HBO Now and HBO Max Superman, those are both the Tyler Hoechlin Superman.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because you can tell because they have the straps across the cape.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and the thing is, it's funny is I don't think HBO actually made this meme, but they took it and I think they put HBO Go in the background because I think somebody else actually made the initial meme. Or they did something else and then they did this version of it. But like, yeah. And there was a bunch of other funny ones they had all day long.
Oh, the white smoke on the water tower for WB, which is great. I thought
the only thing that was missing is I said instead of the bird, it should have been like Tweety Bird.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But yeah, they had them all over. They had even the clip show is one of my favorites too, where they showed everybody saying how stupid the name change was. Because I mean, all of us here on the panel have said how stupid this name change was. But
yeah, I mean, they even have the Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck for Rabbit and Duck season replaced with Max and HBO, and
yeah. Except they didn't do the voices.
No,
I'd have done the voices
I don't
for
think
them.
they wanted to pay, the guy to do the two voices.
HBO Now. Max.
HBO Max. Max. No, HBO Max.
Yeah, we're HBO Max again, Doc. Anyway, so what did you feel about this, Six? Did you think this went over pretty well yesterday? Did you see this?
See what? The name change?
The rebrand. Yeah.
Yeah, I tagged you in it on Twitter.
Yeah, I figured you did, but I'm just asking you if you thought it was funny, clever.
I thought it was hilarious because I remember you ranting on multiple streams about why are they getting rid of such a known name, HBO.
Yeah.
Back when they first did it. And I thought, well, son of a bitch. He's right. I mean, not that I think that you're wrong, but I was like, yeah, Tom nailed it.
Well, and it didn't make any sense because let's be real. HBO was one of the first cable networks. And you know what HBO means, right? Like you have to, HBO. Okay, I get it. I know what it is. And so you have a streaming service now with that name on it. To me, they were ahead of the game, way above everybody else, except for maybe Disney. But everybody else was doing these random kind of like generic Paramount Plus and CBS All Access before. Did you see me call them motherfuckers out?
No.
Oh. Yeah, because one of the Spanish CBS Paramount Plus things tried to be clever. And I'm like, nice try, and you failed to do the thing you were trying to do. Here we go, I'll bring it up here. Okay, because they tried saying that, oh yeah, we've never changed because it's been Paramount Plus, Paramount Plus, Paramount Plus, Paramount Plus, Paramount Plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, cute, you tried to do the thing, but then you failed to do the thing. It's like they forgot they were CBS All Access for the longest time before that.
What, 3 years, I think? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, not quite as clever as you thought you were, Paramount Plus. We're not even going to give you an E for effort on that one. But anyhow, that's the one that made me laugh the most. Otherwise, Nick, what did you feel about this? Did you see this at all yesterday?
Oh, the HBO thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I found out about it earlier today, but I definitely had a chuckle at it. That's for sure. I'm thinking, wow, as if that shouldn't have been obvious from the damn beginning. Changing its name was absolutely stupid. I'm glad they did it. Granted, it's not like the be-all, end-all, but as far as name recognition, I mean, once upon a time, it was one of the most talked about channels for premium shows. I mean, God, what was it when you had like The Sopranos? Was it The Wire, Deadwood, back to back?
They pretty much created prestige television.
Yes, they set the precedent for basically high end TV. It's like TV with the equivalent of a fancy glass of wine. And it wasn't like it was kind of like that joke in I Love You, Man. Oh no, this isn't cable. This is HBO. And that, I always thought about that line from that movie. I thought, why would they toss away that name? That was why they got recognized.
Script already gave them their new tagline too. It's not streaming; it's HBO Max. Yeah.
That's so simple. It's good that someone actually realized that. I would like to see what the room was like when they decided to make that change. Was there any actual genuine pushback, and who was the genius who gave that the okay? But regardless,
the genius who gave the okay was Zaslav, and the reason they did it was I was told, and we found out that was true at the time, and it made no fucking sense to me or anybody else who you told it to, was that they wanted to separate HBO a little bit from the other stuff because they were not just HBO, they were Discovery and all the Warner Brothers cable networks, right? Mm-hmm. So they wanted to differentiate a little bit that it wasn't just HBO. But then I'm sitting here going, yeah, but do you realize that when people think of HBO and Cinemax as one and the two, like a lot of us saw it as, oh, that's perfect. Because not only does the Max in your title mean, it's just like all the other streamers where you have the Max and the pluses and the whatnots, but you have Cinemax. So that's part of the brand, right? So you have HBO Max, right? But then when they took away the HBO, I'm like, well, when I think of Cinemax, all I think about is Skinemax. And if you want to and then the other part of it was they wanted to try and evoke a more family-friendly kind of thing that they felt that HBO didn't evoke. I'm like, are you fucking retarded? Because HBO was everything across the board, from family to adult entertainment. But Skinemax was the one that went to that little extra step of the adult entertainment. That was the difference, right? Like, and Cinemax was always a little bit more of the B-movie, tongue-in-cheek type stuff, not very kid-oriented. HBO, on the other hand, had plenty of children's entertainment. In fact, I would get up every morning, and most of the time, the shit I would watch before school as a kid was on HBO. I'd watch like Encyclopedia and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I remember from back in the day before I started to see some of the adult stuff, because a lot of that stuff was after 10 o'clock. But anyway, let's see some of these reactions, and we'll get Price. What did you think of the name change real quick before we get to this one?
I think that I agree with what you said. HBO Max was always a good way to call it, because the HBO brand is something that was built over so many decades. The fact that Zaslav came and thought to get rid of it was stupid. And I think we all were on streams and we all said it, even you and I talked about it, that it was such a dumb idea. And at the end, he just realized what everybody knew. The funny part is they probably paid some company millions of dollars to do like marketing data research. And at the end, they probably had a big presentation and some guy in a suit came out with like a PowerPoint presentation and told Zaslav, you really need to call it HBO Max.
Yeah, I'm sure they did on both ends. But
like I could have done that. He could have paid me millions of dollars, and I would have just told him ahead of time, even when he did it, that it was a dumb thing to do.
Kind of reminds me of when they hire one of these marketing firms to come in and do a rebrand, and then all they do is just like add a little bend to the logo.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you didn't do anything.
Google, each time they like change something like every few years, and it's negligible. Nobody even cares. And they hire some company, somebody takes millions of dollars, and like you said, they tell them, why don't we bend the O a little? And they're like, wow, here's your check.
Make the X a little bit more wavy. So anyway, I actually think that part of this is pretty candid and an actual reaction from Gunn. I don't know what you guys think, but here.
God, we're calling it HBO Max? What? Is calling HBO Max again? Hey, I'm James Gunn. Be sure to watch Season 2 of Peacemaker streaming this Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern on HBO Max. God, we're calling it HBO Max? What? Is calling HBO Max again? Yeah? Wow.
Is that going to be announced at the upfront?
That's good, actually, but I didn't know it was happening.
Would have been nice to have said that way back when, James.
Yeah, because he was shooting this just recently. So he shot this the other day for Peacemaker, which this will start showing like the week before it premieres, right? So Yeah, so that's why I think that was a genuine reaction. But then we had some more, of course. We had the one that Script brought up here with the smoke. And then we had this one here. It was like HBO, HBO Go, HBO Now, HBO Max, HBO Max. Bitch, you better be joking. And this was my other favorite one here, where they actually took all these clips. Now, this is what I think they're winning everybody over, is because they're having a sense of humor about this. They're basically saying, yeah, we fucked up. And we know how stupid it was. We're admitting it. It's our fault.
Is it HBO Max or just Max?
I think it's just straight Max.
HBO Max is out, is it?
It's gone.
Why would you remove the biggest part of the branding?
That's not a better name.
And everybody get HBO Max. No, I'm sorry.
Max, HBO Max. And get HBO.
And get Max. It's Max.
And get Max.
It's just Max.
It's called Max. It's a guy called Max.
My brother.
Max, that really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Just what we needed, another network.
I can't get used to it.
I just want everybody to know I'm changing everything that says Max
to China.
Max.
Is it?
Okay, credit where it's due. That was actually good. I will happily give them credit for at least taking some digs, even though it's a little late. I will happily give them credit that they're really, leaning in on it now. It wasn't like a quick blink and you miss it statement. That the fact that they're really poking fun at it is actually kind of nice.
I would like it if they ended up doing a sketch where it's like, how about HBO Plus? No. They all just scream no.
What if we call it HBO Now? Wait. Shit.
Well, there's a fun fact I'll bet none of you remember. This was way back in the day that this channel used to be called Midnight's Edge at Brunch.
Then I started getting up later. 6 is right.
Yeah.
Is that actually true?
No, it's always been After Dark. No, actually, we got the After Dark name from the Playboy Network, actually. And then everybody started doing an After Dark thing. It was like, okay, whatever. It's not like we made it up or anything. But
God made up dark.
he did. And then he made light. And Zack Snyder didn't know what to do with it.
And here we are.
No, apparently his Rebel Moon series at Netflix is gone.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That is, I've heard the rumors that they're not proceeding with any more Rebel Moon stuff.
Why would they?
Very good question.
I forgot to watch.
Oh, how will I survive?
And then ActionCom says, can we play that famous HBO identification 1980s ad? I've had all the models. It might be copyrighted, but I'll play it. Because it is actually a song. And I've played the actual song on MEAD Radio before. Let's see here. This is the way that the app should start up, if you ask me. Like every time I would sit through a fucking minute and a half of this every fucking time. I don't give a shit. If it actually started off.
Oh, I remember that.
Didn't this just always give you chills as a kid? Especially when they did the long one, because when they did the long one, you knew that you were about to see something new.
This is the best one. I wish they still did.
Because when it was just a regular repeat movie, it'd start here.
I love the music. It's much better than the movie.
That's what I'm saying. This is a whole song. Like I think they just repurposed it. But yeah.
Oh,
It actually has words and everything.
I even
It
like
is
the
reminiscent
graphics.
of Guardians, yeah.
I would keep this. I would do this now.
That's what I said. I would watch the app every time if it started like that. Every single time.
Can you make that a short, Tom? Because I want to play that on repeat. Takes me way back.
I know, doesn't it? This movie is rated R. And then you had
Rated
to wait
R
and
for
see.
radical. That's why.
Yeah. In stereo, we're available.
Wow.
Yeah.
remember.
I miss those days. I do miss
Right?
those
When
days.
when commercials had memorable jingles and there was always some catchiness to them. Dude, those things always like stood out, and it would make getting through what they called commercials instead of ads. I made them more bearable, or promotions for things, or intros for things. They're always cool. Now everything's just so dull and bland.
Trying to see if I can find the actual song.
Like, seriously, we're at a time where HBO had a memorable intro. Even a razor back in the day had a memorable jingle, obviously referring to the old school Gillette song. Like, who would have thought a shaving razor would have a memorable song?
4 minutes and 56 seconds.
Yeah, this is actually a better quality than the last one we just had.
That is pretty good
This is
quality,
really good
yeah.
quality.
Interesting how before all the AI and computer graphics and all that, like they made something so cool.
I feel like I just want to like start dancing.
I know. So 70s and 80s. So it was late 70s, early 80s, but yeah.
We should have for the Midnight's Edge meetup. This be like the introduction theme music.
Well, if it doesn't get copyright claimed, I would.
The trumpet, I love the trumpet.
Yeah, whoever grabbed this must have nabbed this off the original fucking quarter inch.
Incredible.
This is really good quality, and it doesn't look up converted. See, it keeps going. There's more to it. Told y'all.
They made this in the event that they screwed up their programming schedule. Like, oh crap, we started 6 minutes early. Quick.
I think they just stole the beginning of this song, whatever it was. Because the song is like just some 80s song or whatever.
Generic.
Wow, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
that shit is like nakedly stimulated.
It's like something you.
It's like the Ultimate Fantasy, I think is the name of the song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is CC listening? I want a karaoke version.
Yeah.
Not familiar at all.
Now it's sounding like good old porno music. Oh, this is an invitation. Sit inside your mind.
Oh, the lyrics are more than life.
Naughty.
Yeah, something about the fantasy, yeah.
I never even knew it was a real song. I thought it was
I discovered it one day, fucking around. Yeah.
Attended channel strike.
No shit. Yeah, I already got in trouble today with MEAD Radio, so I pushed it to the limit. I pushed it to the limit.
Push it good.
Go 141 says with 20 Mexican dollars, I missed the 2000s Duck Dodgers opening a classic. Oh yeah, that was.
Oh yeah.
Dodgers in the 21st and a half century. Soul Nightmare sends in another 10. Sincere thank you for the answers. I'll take part 2 if it's made, but I don't need it. It must be awkward for them since part 1 did well enough and Penguin was successful right in the middle of the reboot. Yes and no. See, it didn't really do as great as everybody kind of pretends it did. Because the Batman should have made $1 billion.
Yes.
There's no real excuse for it. The Penguin being successful was kind of a fluke, and as I said before, I was pretty sure that whether or not we get a Batman 2 was going to be predicated on whether or not that was a success. And if you notice, as soon as that was a success is when they started harping on Matt Reeves, where's our script? Where's our script? Where's our script? Where's our script?
And then I think some people at WB have realized, well, Matt wasn't the one that really wrote the Penguin. So what are we going to do?
That's where I was like thinking if maybe they actually let him go as a director and brought in that team, the sequel might have had a better chance to be good.
Possibly. I mean, I enjoyed more so the acting in the Penguin. The storyline itself was pretty Mary Sue-ish. A lot of convenient things happened to go the Penguin's way without him actually doing anything. But I mean, I liked watching Colin Farrell in that makeup. He sold the hell out of it.
But yeah, to finish up the HBO thing, this is actually from Eric Schiffer, chairman of the LA-based management reputation company that helped them with the rebrand. It says, re-adding HBO isn't a rebrand. It's a corporate walk of shame. Every Neon Max banner hangs like a scarlet letter of incompetence. He added hyperbolically that stripping it costs more than some streamers spend on content. Yeah.
Oh, that's also a little dig on Disney Plus right there.
So I don't know if actually Schiffer had anything to do with this. They're just the person they're talking to in the story here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, Warner Brothers Discovery destroyed 50 years of prestige. Now it has to haul that gravestone back and pay for the funeral twice. But it's a good move. It's a good move for them. And I think it'll work out better for them in the end. So, yeah. But we do have a couple more stories I want to get to before we get out of here, because I know we're running short on time. We finally have an update on Mel Gibson's Resurrection of the Christ. Lionsgate decided to dump Highlander and pick up Jesus. They got some Jesus. So it looks like Lionsgate is going to be picking up the bill for the Passion of the Christ too.
Oh. Well, I mean, I'm glad Mel's able to get that backing. He's been trying to get finance for that for a few years, so good for him.
I was looking to see if it's for 2 films or just the one, because I know he said that he thought that should be cut into 2 parts. Does not say here. But yeah, that's some positive movement on that.
Wow.
What's even going to be better is that James Caviezel is going to go through another crazy phase after that movie's release. So we'll all be enjoyable.
And actually, it looks
entertained
like
that way afterwards.
They're a lot closer than we thought, and it's supposed to begin production late summer. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if that gives us kind of a date or an idea of if or when we'll ever see a Lethal Weapon 5. He's always said this is first, so yeah.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that as soon as he's wraps production on this, I know he's supposed to be acting in 3 more things in the fall and winter. So fall of this year and then winter or early next year. And then I'm hoping he gets to do Lethal Weapon 5 for production for next summer and a release in 2027.
Don't everybody talk at once, please.
Well, you're the one that was muted.
I didn't see the
I know,
Passion
but
of the
I
Christ, so I don't. I mean, I read the book.
Yeah.
But
I mean, why is everybody so quiet today? Any other day, I got to fight to say something.
I don't know what to say about this. I don't even know how there's a follow-up to the original. I think that I'm not even sure he needs to make this movie, but that's just my opinion.
He wants
Actually,
to
there is a bunch of story that didn't get told. Yeah.
well,
I
yeah,
didn't
the
know that.
resurrection.
But that makes sense. It makes sense to have the band back together. So, hey, I hope it does well. I know the first one did bonkers good. And hopefully the sequel will do well as well.
Jim Caviezel actually looks pretty good for his age, so he might be able to pull it off with minimal.
Oh, yeah, he's aged well.
But him getting Lethal Weapon 5 for 2027 makes sense, because that would be the anniversary.
It'd be
the 50th
it'd be,
40th
anniversary.
anniversary. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. And then Batmobile, or Batmobile, says, how don't you have a script no matter how Penguin did?
What?
Good fucking question. Script and I have been asking this for years.
Yeah.
How do you not already have a fucking script done for this?
Yeah, pretty much. Why weren't you writing when The Flash was finally being released for the first?
I mean, and that was the other thing is I guess a bunch of his ideas that were initially meant for the Batman Part 2 got used in the Penguin. So I think there was a point where there was not going to be another Batman movie until there was. And that's what I think has kind of been happening. But yeah.
There's also the split. They're going to do a Gotham City show that was going to run parallel.
That never happened, yeah.
And that didn't happen either. And they moved a lot of equipment over to the UK in order to film for that filming, and they ended up not using any of it.
Yeah. So we'll see how that turns out. And then we had one more story that was actually one of the bigger stories of the day. We have our new star of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, who will be alongside Sarah Michelle Gellar. That's right. She's not playing the new Buffy, but probably Buffy's daughter, I'd imagine, or something like that. I don't know if Script knows anything about this.
No, this is news to me. Other than I knew Sarah Michelle Gellar was going to be a producer on the new Buffy series.
So the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot pilot at Hulu has found its new Slayer in Ryan Kira Armstrong. Armstrong has been cast in a lead role in the pilot opposite returning star Sarah Michelle Gellar. The pilot was originally announced at Hulu back in February. Exact plot details are under wraps, but sources previously said the pilot will focus on a new Slayer with Gellar appearing in a reoccurring role as Buffy. So it's my guess that she'll be the trainer now, and whoever it'll probably just be called Slayers or something like that. I'm imagining, or Vampire Slayers or something. But it won't be just called Buffy. So yeah, what do you think, Script? And then we'll get what everybody else thinks on this.
I'm hoping it's a sequel series and not a reboot. That's
what it sounds like. It's definitely a sequel series, but I think it's a passing of the torch. Is my point. Mm-hmm. I think she's going to be playing a minimal role in this show. Unless you know anything else. Anybody? Any Buffy fans
I've
here?
never watched the original Buffy. All I just know is if I were a Buffy fan, I know a lot of people in our sphere are. I guess I would probably either be the mindset where we're getting a reboot of this. Why? But I'm not a Buffy fan.
Buffy's very popular.
So
they're not gonna capture whatever magic they had back then. Personally, it wasn't my favorite show, but I did actually watch some episodes of it when it was on. I didn't hate the show, but I wasn't also religiously watching every week. It's just like from time to time I'd catch an episode. It was fine. I don't really care.
Did you watch it?
I've seen every episode multiple times. It's probably in my top 3 favorite TV shows of all time.
I was gonna say, so this is mainly directed towards your demographic. So what do you think about this?
No, that's totally fine. It's not like I wrote it, so I don't care if anybody watched it or hated it, or that's fine. I thought, I don't really know anything about the casting. I didn't have time to really look up the girl. She was in that Star Wars skeleton show. So that's a strike against her, but I hate everything Disney Star Wars. So, but she's adorable. I watched the video where Sarah Michelle Gellar posted on Instagram where she offers the girl the role. And it was really cute. She seems like a sweet young girl. I hope she starts working out, because Sarah Michelle Gellar, she was always very toned, even though we all know that a woman, who weighs 110 pounds could not do the things that she did. She had supernatural abilities. So that enabled her to be the strong Slayer that she was. So I'm hoping that this girl can do the physicality of being a Slayer.
Yeah, Shanatsky's.
Go ahead.
I was just going to read Shanatsky's $2 super chat. Said Joss's core was Buffy's TVS despite others' wishes. What's TBS?
The Vampire Slayer.
Oh, his core, like his main thing. Yeah, I would say that's his main claim to fame. But yeah, I mean, if the number one thing I think is right about this is you got Sarah Michelle Gellar involved. Even though I was never a fan of the show, I was always a fan of the film. But I mean, 6, if you're excited for it, that's what matters, because you guys are your age group and female demographic is, I think, what they're aiming for. So
yeah, probably. It's being written, I think, produced, directed. I'm not sure exactly what their titles are, but it's a bunch of women. And I have no problem with women doing stuff, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer was very Joss Whedon oriented. I think a lot of the lines that he wrote, he wasn't necessarily writing them to have a woman say them. There were, a lot of the jokes that were in the show were maybe they could have been read by a male actor. I'm not saying this correctly, but I'm not excited about the fact that this is a whole bunch of women making a show that was made by predominantly a man, Joss Whedon, even though Joss has his own problems. But I hope that they don't feminize it or make it more girly. Or
I can see what you're saying. Like, I can see where the knee-jerk react, especially nowadays, right? Like,
yeah,
it's
because
going to be all women power stuff.
Yeah, and I don't care that they're women. That's not what I'm saying. I just hope that they didn't hire them because they're women.
Yeah, hire them because they're right for the parts. I get what you're saying. You're actually playing in meritocracy.
Like, I hope that maybe they'll write like a man. That's what I'm because
that makes a lot of sense. Even though I've never watched the show, what you're saying makes a lot of sense, Six, and I fully understand what you're getting at. That's obviously, it sounds like that was a major part of that show. It almost sounds like it was even essential. Tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm worried
it seems
about,
like the show wouldn't function the same way if you took that
I never
element out
watched
of
the
it.
show, so I don't know if the show did the same thing as the movie, but my understanding in the film was, and this is the one time where you can kind of sidestep a Mary Sue kind of thing, because Buffy was the least likely candidate to be a vampire slayer, but she was chosen because of her bloodline. And then as soon as that part of her awakened in her, that was when she became the slayer, but she also required some training, right?
Yeah, constant training.
Yeah, but the whole joke is that you have a fucking ditzy blonde cheerleader who is
the savior of the world. Yeah.
Who's the savior of the world, right? Like, that's the whole gimmick. And as long as they stick with that, I think it'll be fine. But I see where your fears are coming in, Six. It's like, yeah, they could go into the wrong direction with this, because that's the whole point of this, is it's supposed to be a tongue-in-cheek, like, almost like Hit Girl is kind of viewed as, right?
Oh, dude, Hit Girl's that should be its own show, movie, whatever. I love Hit Girl. Like, don't get wrong, Kick-Ass, David Zusi's cool, but Hit Girl's kind of better. Just saying, kind of better.
And in the final season, Sunnydale, where the show took place, it was destroyed. But when Sarah asked her to be, offered her the role, she said something like, "Welcome to the new Sunnydale." So I don't know if
I'm sure
they've
rebuilt by now.
I think that would be, no, but it was like a fucking hole in the ground, like, down thousands of feet. So
it'll probably be called New Sunnydale.
Blown up.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I think that would be awesome if they had, Sunnydale High and had some of the same locations. And I think that would be, I would love that, but I'm sure it'll suck. I'm not gonna get excited.
Pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah. But I did love that show very much.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. I think this has potential, especially since they decided not to go with the reboot, where they were gonna have a black lady leading. That went bye-bye real fast.
Well, that would have been fine. What's the problem with that?
I don't know. I think there was gonna be a complete reboot.
Like, have her play Buffy Summers?
Same name. If it's a different character, kind of like the way you're doing different characters by name of the Crow, sure. But if it's a different character, the same name, personally, I wouldn't be with that angle. I mean, to me, it's just like have an original character.
No, I don't know what happened to it. I don't remember the logistics of it. I just know that was the one time all the wokey wokes lost their fucking mind and we were pointing and laughing. We're going to see. Yeah,
there was one recently that people tend to forget about. It was when they originally casted a Asian woman to play Vanessa Fisk in Daredevil Born Again. And then obviously when they barely restarted the show, because now that we know the show now in retrospect, they got the original actress back and they just kind of like never said anything about the lady who originally was going to be the race swap Vanessa
I want to know
Fisk.
what happened to her.
I know, right? So weird how we heard.
I want an interview that she says how they fired her, and I want Kevin Feige to explain it next to Bob Iger. I want to hear it.
Oh, dude, you already know they're gonna talk around that, corporatize, sanitize the shit out of that.
Well, the excuse was by the time they got to the reshoots, that actress was already shooting something else, and it was a conflict of schedule, so they got the original actress back.
Honestly,
we
I
all
don't
know
buy
the
it.
truth.
Even if that's true, let's just pretend that that's true. I don't buy it. One, actors and actresses have shot a few things before. Granted, I'm sure that's not easy, and I applaud those who could put in that time and work for the grind. But be real here. They brought the original Vanessa Fisk back, and that was their corporate answer, not the legitimate answer.
Well, and Dead Man sends in $2 and says, Always Sunny already did a Lethal Weapon 5. I really got to watch that show. I've still never seen it. I've heard that a few times now. And then Action Com sends 5 in and says, Script, wasn't Buffy's story born out of fear of high schoolers had of graduating?
No, it was actually Joss Whedon wrote it as an allegory for young girls to be able to find good men. Apparently, vampires are supposed to represent the men that you shouldn't be associated with. And
Luke Perry represents the good men.
No, that's I'm talking about the television show.
Yeah,
the movie
I know,
itself was just the irony of a ditzy blonde becoming the savior of the world.
I love the movie. The movie's the movie to me. That's
but the
I hate the
TV
movie.
series was all about
Really?
girls not falling for the guy that only cared about one thing about them, which in this case was their blood, but of course he was using it as an allegory for sex. And then the network at the time was like, no, people really like Angel, so you got to make Buffy fall in love with Angel, and he was really against that.
Yeah. Well, Price has to leave us here. I did find one more quick story I wanted to discuss real super quick, but I'm gonna let Price go because he has to run. So go ahead and plug your wares, Price. You got a show later on tonight. 2 shows later on tonight, right?
2 shows on my live stream channel. There's Quantum Leap Revisited at 10 p.m. and Eastern, and then on the same channel at 11:45 p.m. Eastern, there's the Night Owl. So this is all happening on my live stream channel, which is my second channel, not the main channel, tonight.
All right. There you go, folks. Check it out, and thanks for being here, Price. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye, Price.
Take care.
Bye. Bye, Six. Bye, Nick. Bye, Script.
Later, Price. See you later.
Take care.
See
and
ya.
then, so South Park, we finally have a little bit of an update. I don't know how the lawsuit went, if they settled it or what's going on with this. But it sounds like Paramount Plus will be getting all of South Park this fall. And it could also still stay on HBO Max. And this is all coinciding with Matt and Trey's big, huge contract ending in June. So after 2 years, South Park is finally returning on July 9th on Paramount Plus. So there you go. That's the quick and the short of that story.
Cool. I don't care where it goes. I just want the show to be around and unedited, and hopefully one day they can get back to a point where the show has a more episodic format.
Did you see the Rambo origin story?
I heard about that.
No, which
Rainbow?
one?
Oh, I got it
I
here.
think there's like a writer attached to it or something like that. I didn't hear anything about a director. Or
I have
maybe
the
read
Chuck
that
Dixon
wrong.
Rambo prequel now.
I just put it in the private chat.
So yeah, hits the candies market. Or I just butchered that
He's
word.
done this they've tried to do this a couple times. We'll see if it happens this time. Because I know this is one Stallone has had a pitch for a while. Rambo origin movie, John Rambo.
Yeah.
Hits the cans market.
And you're right. They already did it with the book version of it, the first
Yeah.
Kill graphic novel. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I remember that book. Man. No, I'm fine with leaving that type of story in the funny books, but
I don't
that's
even know if
just my
this will have
opinion.
anything to do with Sly at all.
Oh, especially if it has
He's not
nothing to
involved.
do with Sly. Ugh.
Really?
Oh, shivers.
I think
Yeah,
I
'cause
read
he's-
he's aware of it, but
Yeah, because he had and I think that's what Chuck ended up doing, is just doing his pitch into a story.
Yes.
So yeah, this is a completely new thing. Oh, all right. Interesting. We are thrilled to introduce a fresh new chapter in a Rambo legacy. This project will be a tribute to one of the best franchises in movie history that will appeal to both longtime fans and new audiences alike, says Millennium President Jonathan Younger. With Yalmiri Helander at the helm of the filmmaker, exception, vision, and energy, found the perfect director to deliver high-concept, action-packed experience.
well, it says Sylvester Stallone is aware of the project but not currently involved,
Yeah, see, I don't like
and it's
that
going to
idea.
start filming this October. So it's going to start filming before the Batman 2.
We'll get the Supergirl movie before Batman 2 starts filming. Jesus.
We're going to get Avatar 17
Probably.
before the Batman 2.
Well, yeah, we'll see how that rolls.
Yeah.
Pattinson seems to think he's going to be old and gray by the time they get to the Batman 2.
Well, he's probably
already
sick of it.
Yeah, he's already signed on to How to Save a Marriage, a body swap thriller.
There was another one he just signed on to too.
Yeah, he signed on to like 2 other films already. So, and he's also
Besides
like
Dune.
Dune. Yeah,
Yeah.
besides Dune, yeah.
He's sick
Although
of being
this is-
asked about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, this is set to this is still set to shoot after all these other projects. So keep that in mind, but still.
It's gonna be a couple years away.
Yeah. just doesn't quite feel like he knows. He doesn't feel like he's confident that this thing's going to happen. And I think you're right. I think he's very sick of being asked about it. But Soul Nightmare says, question for script. How do you write if you struggle with writing? I'm one of those crystal clear in my head, but struggle to get it out on the page. Oh, trust me, I know what that's like.
Okay, you're not going to like this, but you have to read more. you just do, because you need to learn your language as best as you possibly can so that you know how to articulate it on the page, from images in your head to words. That's the easiest way to do that. The other part too is, like, even if you're struggling, you can use AI to be like, how do I say this, and just vomit out what you're saying. And then when it gives you an answer, just rewrite it in your own words to help get you started, and you'll start building a flow on that. I've seen a lot of even older writers they may have early onset Alzheimer's having to do that, because they'll forget the words, or they'll forget certain definitions of words, and they'll do the normal Google search. And of course, Google doesn't really tell you anything. But if they use like Grok or ChatGPT of that little part, it'll refresh their memory, and then they can get back into writing itself.
Yeah. There you go. You got some free advice from the script doctor. And while we got you here for a few more minutes, let's get everybody's reactions to the Superman trailer, since that dropped yesterday. Six, what did you think about it?
I liked it, and I had some conversation with Tom about it. We were a bit disagreeing. I didn't love how he said that he stopped a war. I thought it was a little bit egotistical. I didn't like how he was acting out towards Lois with some of her questions. But overall, I thought it was a very good trailer. I am very excited about the movie. And trying not to trigger Tom.
Don't worry about triggering me. Don't worry about triggering me.
I'm excited for the movie. I'm gonna go into that movie planning to love it.
I know everybody's gonna have a difference of opinion on this. Now, I think the scene in question, and I'm kind of curious to hear, because I know I've seen some of Script's reactions to this in other DM groups and stuff. But the biggest point of debate in this trailer so far has been the Clark and Lois scene. Mm-hmm. And I think without the context here, that's the biggest key. Is a lot of people are jumping to some conclusion about how Clark is acting. I think that there's more to the scene than we know, because even Nina pointed out that she believes that scene ends up with them fucking, because that's in the other trailer where they're having. So, and this is where I was saying I think she's kind of either like, I think you're kind of gonna go with this, is like trying to point out that, because he's close to him, and you need to hear certain things sometimes from people that are close to you. Things you want to avoid and not look at directly in the face of the things that he might, not be understanding or appreciating or respecting as far as being Superman and other countries and other people's beliefs and religions and everything else that goes into that. Or she's just trying to set him up to get him to talk about his feelings, because he's being really reserved with his feelings. And I think this was a way of, like, a ruse or a way of tricking him into putting his guard down and then getting him to talk. And when it gets done, she'll turn the machine off and go, no, this is not an interview. I just wanted you to talk. I just wanted you to say it. I wanted to hear your feelings. You needed to let it out. You needed to get emotional, something like that. But I'm curious what you feel about that script, because I think that's one of the biggest points of contention with people, is how he's reacting to Lois's line of questioning. I think, first of all, he's upset because he feels like he was tricked into this, what he thought was going to be a little puff piece, into some hard line questioning, and she's treating him like Superman and not Clark Kent, right? Like somebody who is a representative of the United States or the world, or however you want to look at it.
Okay, well, I think the way that the scene starts out is that the two are in the midst of like making out, and then all of a sudden we don't know how we get to the interview part, because when you see the first close up, they're like an inch apart from their lips. And then he's like, sure, yeah, you can interview me. And it looks more like it's foreplay, but this is Lois Lane and she's taking it seriously. And I think that's the only part that throws it off. Not that he was like hoodwinked and that she manipulated him, is the fact that it's the misunderstanding aspect of it. Because he even plays with her. He calls her Cronkite. Like, he's like, this is a game, right? And then she's being absolutely serious. And remember, if you know your history of Lois Lane, she's an army brat. Her father is a general. Her father is a dangerous general because he is a blind loyalty to whoever the president is at that time, with rare exceptions of Lex Luthor to a degree. He's the type of general who you do not want actually on the battlefield, at least in a lot of his iterations. And I'm pretty sure Nick has some examples from his comic book reading days as well. But she's but she's holding it as a legitimate interview. And then the other part too is she's pulling Clark kind of his head out of the clouds, because he does say something arrogant, which is, I stopped a war. Well, if you know anything about wars, like, you don't really stop a war, you stop a battle. And then the people who are at odds with each other, they come to a term. And that's what Lois is challenging. She's like, maybe, like, he's like, yeah, I did. It's like, no, you stopped a fight. That's the subtext of the scene. He's like, he stopped a battle. He saved some people. There's nothing to say that those two countries can't go at each other again. And then she does something. And then she's also finding out, his perspective, which is that, like, oh, she's like, did you consult the president? And he scoffs at that because, again, he doesn't work for the government. He's not that. And he only cares about saving people. And I love the fact that he was passionate enough to basically say, because he wanted to save lives. Whereas when you take a look at all the trailers for previous Superman incarnations within the last 10 years, he's not passionate about that. He's kind of like hovering above people who are reaching out for their hand, or he's being surrounded by people who are like, clawing at him, and he's like looking completely distant. But here's a guy that's passionate about the fact that he values everybody. I thought the interview was a nice inverse to the flirtation of what we saw in Donner's Superman. Where she is literally writing a puff piece of sorts, and the Donner's one. And here we have Lois Lane, who's like, I'm not going to pull back. And to what I said in the DMs, I mean, if Lois were to write a puff piece in the climate that James Gunn is pitched to the world, that Superman is a guy who believes in kindness in a world that doesn't think kindness is important anymore, I think it's an interesting strategy to basically say, well, who better to ask you these hard-hitting questions so that you can actually start thinking about them than your girlfriend, who actually cares about you? Because how would it be if Superman was suddenly caught in public and was put in a position where he had to answer these questions? This is the first time he's hearing them, and he hasn't actually thought about them in a more nuanced way, and he starts reacting this way. That would play right into Lex Luthor's hands, or anyone in power that hates him. And that's also part of the allegory that this trailer had, is that, you have the kid that he saves, you have the lady that he saves, you have the guy that helps him out of the pit that likes him. So you see the people on the ground, like the grassroots people, the people of the world, like Superman, but it's Lex Luthor that doesn't like him. It's the head of the Pentagon, Rick Flag Sr., that doesn't like him. Like, all the people who have power and control and almost unlimited resources don't like a guy who's helping out the little man, so to speak, from their perspective, like the elites versus the common. And I think that's a pretty cool angle as well. Now, as for the marketing angle side of it, it's a step in the right direction, but it is still kind of weak as an overall trailer. Like, it's solid, but there's something else you could.
Yeah, it felt like a third trailer, not a first trailer.
It felt like something that you'd see as not presented in a movie theater to get you all riled up, but kind of like this movie has just dropped in theaters. Here's this type of trailer to kind of remind you that it exists. That it felt like that one, yeah.
Well, like I said, like the third trailer, like the final trailer, or whatever, yeah. So yeah, Nick, what did you feel about it?
Hello? Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry, my mic was going all bipolar on me like Charlie Sheen. Anyways, I actually did enjoy the trailer. No, I don't think it was like a perfect, state-of-the-art, transcendent trailer at all, but did I enjoy it overall? Yeah, I did. And I had a few people messaging, commenting to me about their complaints about the scene, that infamous scene. And honestly, I think a lot of people showed that they don't really know Lois Lane when they did that, because Lois Lane, since the 80s, maybe the 70s, has been a hard-nosed reporter that is objective when it comes to her reporting, and she is absolutely at the top of her game when asking hardball questions. She's doing her actual job as a reporter. This is not some new thing. This is not some new girl boss phenomenon. This is something she has been doing for a long time. I think there's a moment where there's a little bit of a hard conversation in Superman the Animated Series. You can look at the John Byrne material from the '80s, which for the complaints I have of that run, and I like it, but I have my complaints on it. I feel like his handling of Lois Lane was done fairly well in that run. So it's right in line for her character to be doing this. It could be any more in line if I'm going to like really double down on that statement. And also this takes Superman off guard because he is expecting easy questions from the woman he loves. It throws him off guard that, oh crud, like I'm not really exempt from this. And this is also, it's a lot easier for him to show off how he feels about this to the woman he loves versus we're in a public setting. I truly do feel like he would be a lot more stoic and play a little bit more sanitized with his answers, stuff that kind of answers it, but kind of convenient answers it, kind of dodges some things at the same time. So I think in public, he would handle it differently. But to the woman he loves, well, it hits a bit differently when it hits from someone you love versus people who you really don't know, where you kind of take it with a pinch of salt until you hear enough of it when it starts to annoy you. Now, that all said, I like how bright the movie looks. I like the brightness of the suit. I'll forgive the awful color and scales if the movie's good. I'll never like those things. But if the movie's good, you can forgive things like that when the movie's good. It looks like it's definitely influenced by more of the 70s, 80s type of Superman runs for the most part, which is fine by me. There's a lot of good comics in that era. So overall, I'm happy for it, and I'm definitely going to see it opening day. Wherever's the very first showing, I will be buying my tickets right away. I hope we get more than just Lex Luthor as a villain, and I don't count the kaiju monster as a villain. But that said, beggars can't be choosers. So overall, I liked it. I had no problem with the argument scene. Whether we do or do not have context to that remains to be seen. But even with context, assuming that we're having context, I'm still fine with that scene, and there's nothing that's going to really change my mind on that.
Yeah, Nick, what about the argument scene? It's obviously so cut up, and I don't.
Maybe, could be. Yeah, I won't put it past them, and that's fine. It's a trailer. Of course things are being cut up. And I'm glad this trailer didn't give everything away. We were just complaining on Tuesday about how the trailer for Nobody 2, which I loved, gave away too much. And now we have a trailer that doesn't give away much, and I have no issue with that. As much as I feel like Nobody 2 might be overall the better movie, I feel like the Superman trailer showed the right foot by giving away less in the trailer context. So once again, I'm fine with where the trailer went. My only concern still with this movie and I don't feel like we're really reassured is this going to be a Superman movie or Superman and Friends movie? I still need more convincing on that, because that's the one thing this trailer has not reassured me on.
What did you guys think about the fact that they removed the blink when that guy threw something at the back of his head?
That was good. That means they actually listened to the feedback and were taking it seriously. And to be fair, maybe someone may have missed it. I mean, assuming that some of these people are working hard, working late nights, working on these movies, it could have been a genuine mistake to have missed that. At least they corrected it, and it shows you someone out there is listening.
I mean, there's no reason for him to blink or not to blink, because he does feel what hits him. It's just certain things actually harm him and others don't.
That's true. Good point.
Like when he gets hit by a bullet, he doesn't oh, what hit me? He doesn't not register. He completely registers it. It just doesn't penetrate his skin or cause him any type of harm. I will say though, like this has got like a nice super science feel to it, which we haven't seen in live action on the big screen before for Superman. So I'm quite excited about that. I like the fact that Lois Lane is a hard-hitting reporter, because maybe that'll inspire journalists to know how to ask the right questions again, instead of just being a pandering, hate-mongering type of individual. I thought it was pretty cool to see Metamorpho having a kryptonite hand when they're beating up Superman in what looks like a version of Superman.
Metamorpho with the hand. That was kind of odd, because I'm thinking, did he morph into kryptonite? Because if he morphs into kryptonite, we're going to have some problems there.
Well, I think he was tortured to morph into. It's just his hand is glowing green. But I think that scene is Supermax, because you remember Supermax, right, Nick?
Oh, yeah.
It's the prison that the cubes change orientation all the time so that you can't escape, because it's a new prison like every night. So it looks like that might be it, or it might be a variation of.
I thought it was a variation of, and that would make sense considering he's struggling to get out of there, which we saw, I think, in the first trailer where you see him punching away. That would make sense, and I can absolutely buy that. I'm fine with that. And I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, this movie looks colorful, cartoony," not in like the terms of the CG bad, but in terms of how really out there the movie is. It's definitely a lot more superheroic like in the terms of like. It's not about being rooted in reality and sticking to being grounded. We're seeing powers a lot more utilized, which to me, that's fine. That's Superman. And I blame the success of the Nolan movies, not the Nolan movies, but the success and the response to it, because a lot of people got so used to the precedent of being rooted in reality with a lot of things that they forgot to have things be crazy, out there, bombastic, suspending disbelief. And back then, when you suspended disbelief, it was kind of like a simple ask. But nowadays, to get people to do it, it seems like it's a fucking chore to do that because we got so used to this. Everything needs to be realistic with these characters, and it's like people, let's learn to have fun with it again. If we hate it, we hate it, but at least try to come from a place where we're trying to have fun with the crazy.
Yeah, because
what did your? I want to let Tom.
Oh, sure.
Give your
I was just going to reinforce Nick's point because they took verisimilitude to its highest level of basically forgetting the fact that you have to sell us on the fantasy to make it feel real, as opposed to making the fantasy, bringing it down so that it fits in our world. It's the inverse of it. It's you change our world.
It's about making you believe.
Yeah, you change our world so that we believe what's going on, as opposed to changing the fiction so that it fits into our rules. So yes, let's throw it to Tom and see what he has to say, sir.
I like Superman. I'm just gonna get into the super chats here. We got Tim Hayes, who's been a member for 43 months. Thank you, Tim. And then Detail Devil says, thoughts on Voight's tariff scheme: 120% on foreign incentives, unless production treaty, maybe take from studio split on gross a la DST. Yup, hypocrisy.
I don't know how I don't know how anything the United States could do to how people spend money in another country can hold up. Like, like unless you start stopping people at the airports from leaving, it's not going to happen.
Well, I just wanted to make another comment about the Superman trailer. Was when he says, "Hey, buddy, eyes up here," and then he takes off, flies up into the sky. I was like, "Let's go!" That was awesome.
Oh, yeah,
I thought that was the highlight of the trailer for me.
That was a great moment. It showed me he was being brought down with the people. He was connecting with the people on a human level. And to me, also, it was a way of saying, look up and trying to like reinforce some positivity in the world. There'll also be some doubt. Now, that could be me looking into it, but I got a bit of a double meaning out of that. Him literally going up, also figurative, and trying to look up at the finer things of life type of thing. So who knows what it is, but for me, I love that moment for whatever it's worth.
I love the Pa Kent moment where he said, your actions is what defines who you are.
Yeah.
Like that's good fatherly Pa Kent advice. And of course, young Pa Kent holding up little Clark. That was cute. I like that too.
It was a great moment. I did like the way the Kents were portrayed. Now, even though both parents were not my ideal choicings for the characters, as far as the way they played the parts, I really liked their choice of dialogue for their characters in the trailer. So I thought, okay, even though they're not the first people I casted, I like how they had the dialogue down for these characters. So it lets me know that they're definitely trying their best to be those characters. Because what they both said, Ma and Pa Kent said, A.K. Jonathan and Martha, are things that they actually would say.
Mm-hmm.
Pa Kent reminded me of Uncle Jesse from Dukes of Hazzard.
He does have a little bit of that, yeah.
The overalls and the...
Yeah. And the mom was nice too, because you could tell that her concern when she's like, I'm going to go get your boots, was for the people that needed her son, as opposed.
Mm-hmm.
I saw someone on, I think it was on like Instagram or something. My girlfriend was showing me, it's like, why does Ma Kent sound like she's afraid of Clark? I'm like, she's not. She's afraid for what's happening out there. That's why she's got that concerned tone in her voice. She's not afraid of her son.
Right. So, Tom.
Yeah, so we have another super chat here from BA for $4.99. The script doctor just made the argument that Superman in this movie, the common man against the elites in the system against him, it's kind of Trumpish. I guess you could look at it from that perspective.
I disagree
And then he
with
says,
that statement.
I'll
say I disagree with that statement because authority figures have been, that's kind of like a historical story trope period. That's not exclusive to this timeline.
Right.
Some may interpret it as that because they may have a disliking of the current president and they might apply that and let's just say maybe see some coincidences. Now, unless the movie gets really heavy in the message to a point where it's obvious, let's just say like The Boys, maybe that type of comment could hold up. But as far as what we know on the surface, we've had these types of stories of characters coming to power and rising to powers of authority, and it takes a guy who basically was like an odd man out to dethrone the king. That's once again story as old as time. We've had 800 variations of it, and a lot of them have done a very good job of it.
Heck, even in the first issue of Superman in Action Comics, he takes a corrupt politician and hangs him from the telephone lines.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. Can confirm.
Well, yeah, didn't Michael Jackson do that to discipline his children?
Well, they were infants.
Just kidding. Just kidding. BA says for $4.99, the guy playing Superman sounds so much like Christopher Reeve. It threw me off, and no one's really mentioning that, but it's true.
That's an interesting.
I think some people pointed that out initially, is that he was more like Christopher Reeve than.
He's wearing one of his. He's wearing the white dress shirt and black pants, like what we saw in Superman 2.
Mm-hmm.
But his voice does sound different, but he's got this authority that Superman had. Because Christopher Reeve has a little bit of a higher pitched voice, but David Cornsweet can really go that baritone.
Now, did he change his voice when she was interviewing him?
Yes, absolutely did. I noticed that first thing, and I thought that was awesome because to me, Superman, Clark Kent, the duality of the two characters, there should be a change in tone of voice. And that I thought was actually for me one of my favorite parts. As soon as he said the words Miss Lane, I noticed that change. And I like that. It let me know he was being Superman for that interview and not just Clark Kent.
Yeah.
I think that is a subtle. Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just saying he's putting on the role because we also get a half-second clip of him joking around with Jimmy Olsen while he's on the phone, which I actually really liked because that feels like an authentic. That feels like the kid. And I'm wondering if Clark is going to be the core person and Superman's the role he plays as the person to look up to. I'd love to see that on the big screen because I enjoyed it on Lois and Clark back in the day.
But
yeah, I took that change in his voice as a subtle nod to when he's in the original Superman, when he's in Lois's apartment and he takes his glasses off and he kind of straightens up and he's about to reveal himself and then he changes his mind.
You see the way he changes the way he adjusts his height, the way he stands up. It's fantastic scene. It's to me that scene's like the ultimate litmus test of can you do this? If you can do this, you have a shot at being Superman. But BA's got a great thought with this super chat, and I'm gonna rewatch the trailer just because he said that because I didn't think about that, but it's definitely making me think about it now. That's for sure. Tom.
Yes, I'm here.
Let me see.
Dead Man says, does that mean Superman is a good old boy? Yeah, he's definitely
never meaning no harm.
Yep.
Never meaning no harm.
He's supposed to be a good old boy. He's that guy who will come home when he's told to come home at 9 o'clock. He's there at 8:30. He's supposed to be that kid.
Yeah, he says thank you to robots.
Yeah.
Yes, that could be any more Superman if I try. Now, granted, the humor from the robots wasn't funny, but Superman, his interaction with that dialogue was great.
Yeah,
indeed. So, what do you got coming up, Nick?
Let's see. Obviously, I'll be on Comics Division's TNT. Probably talk about Superman and some other crappy MCU show that looks to be crappy. At least, sorry, I shouldn't judge it that harshly because we haven't seen it. I probably, hopefully, never will. That said, I will have the Klobby's Comic Shop tomorrow night. For those who catch it, I know there's some of you in the chat who do catch it. We will be operating an earlier time tomorrow. Probably start around like 6:30 8:45 p.m. Central. So if you're someone who works late, I apologize. Just catch it on replay. Just on your normal time then, but we're starting earlier because after I'm done, not only do I have a shorter show, but I got to get driving up to Milwaukee for Milwaukee Metal Fest. And of course, Toxic Tuesday will be next week, and there'll be Young Guns too. So yeah, I hope to see some of you tomorrow night earlier, if not in an hour on TNT. Thanks for having me. It was good to have a discussion with you guys on Superman and all the other things.
Well, I think after YouTube takes its piece, we get about $1.80. So I think that's the best $1.80 you ever spent, Jesus Davila. That's a Young Guns 2 line right there. Thank you for the super sticker, buddy, for the $3 super sticker. We appreciate that. Take care of yourselves, guys. We also have Script. What you got going on Friday? Or Saturday? You got a show, right?
Yeah, so I'll be on Price's show tonight talking some Quantum Leap Revisited, and then this Saturday it's Ride or Die, a contained thriller of a hostage situation involving like a Peloton instructor. So we're going to see if that's an interesting, see if that interesting take is as good as the pitch. So that'll be this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on my channel. Thank you.
Six, anything you got going on?
Yeah, I'm going to be live streaming on my channel this weekend, and I'm going to be comparing the differences in regular Post-its and super sticky Post-its, comparing are they really stickier. So that'll be about 1:37 a.m. Saturday morning, approximately.
I can't wait to hear that.
And
right.
Watch the morning show tomorrow, Midnight's Edge, at noonish Eastern time.
All right. And with that, I think it's time for us to leave. Bye.
Bye.
Cute kitty. Available now for the first time ever on DVD from Midnight's Edge After Dark Productions. It's My Two Dads, the complete first season starring Mexican Iron Man Tom Connors and Culture Casino. Available now for $19.99 while supplies last.